Welcome, or should I say surprise. It's episode 3 of the Demo Delta podcast. Not just 2, we're doing 4 full episodes on the launch day. So you're getting 2 full interviews. Hopefully you just got done watching the interview with Pam Dunn. If you didn't, go back. You're mixed up in the order, you should watch them. Go back and watch episodes 1 and 2 of Pam Dunn talking last week all about connecting with people and the benefits that gives you, because this week we're talking with Liz Anderson. We're talking about Dungeons and Dragons, which, believe it or not, actually ties into a lot of the same things that we talked about when we were going through and talking about connecting with people. D&D is just connecting with people and telling stories and a lot of great things. I don't want to spoil anything for you in the interview, but if you don't know Liz, she is currently let's make sure I get this right, the Director of Learning at the PreSales Collective. She oversees everything related to learning and development, enablement, the courses such as PreSales Academy, Foundations, Leaders Elevate, and there's the newest series, the Pillars, which have a series of courses designed to help even those who are not new but are maybe very seasoned pre-sales professionals. She's got an extensive experience as well. She came from over 10 years of experience in the field running sales at high growth organizations. If you don't know Liz, you should certainly connect with her. I'll have all of the links to her information in the description and the show notes, so you can find her there, or just search for her on LinkedIn or on the PreSales Collective if you're there. Today's conversation, as I said though, is all about Dungeons and Dragons, which is a hobby that I had once discovered Liz had and I knew would be perfect for the show. Really great conversation, a lot of great tie-ins to a world of pre-sales, but also just a lot of fun. So I'm not going to keep you for much longer. I'll see you at the end of the first part of this interview. Liz Anderson, welcome to the, I suppose, 3rd episode of the Demo Delta podcast. So excited to have you on the show.
Thank you so much for having me. It's an absolute pleasure to be here.
It's crazy to think that this is now episode 3. These conversations I'm having with people is, if you've watched the past episode that we had with Pam Dunn, a lot of fun, a lot of talking about things not related to sales, not related to our jobs, then things kind of related to our jobs. And I actually wanted to start with the stuff related to our jobs first, because for anyone who doesn't know you, you've been very involved with the PreSales Collective. You are director of learning. Is that correct? Am I getting it right?
Director of learning. You could like director of L&D, enablement. I take all the titles.
All of them. Yeah. Call you anything you want, just not late for dinner, I think is the that's the old adage. And I know there's been a lot of cool stuff going on with the PreSales Collective. There's the PreSales Pillars. There's new things. Like, I think everyone's fairly familiar with PreSales Academy at this point, because that's been around for quite a while. Mm-hmm. But some of the new things around like Discovery is launching. There's the PreSales kind of core. You know all the names. So talk to me about it, because I know it's really exciting stuff.
Yeah, we have. So when I came on to the PreSales Collective team about a year ago, we had our core kind of 3 programs. We had PreSales Academy, which is still doing absolutely fantastic. There's some wonderful graduates coming out of there. We had our Foundations program, which is for folks who are really under 1 to 2 years in the pre-sales space, focused on the fundamentals of what it means to be in pre-sales and be an SC. So things like demoing, discovery, how to have hard conversations with your account executive. You got your Leader Elevate for new leaders going into the space in pre-sales. But what was really missing was the stuff for experience solutions engineers. The stuff where we're like, okay, well, I know the basics, but how do I get better in my craft? Mm-hmm. And that was really what I wanted to focus my time on. So I've been, for the past several months, been working on creating this course series. So anything under our Pillars umbrella is meant for those experienced SCs, whether you've been in the role for maybe 2 years, you feel like you've got your feet beneath you, you want to increase what you're doing, or maybe you've been in the role for 10, 15 years and you want to make sure that you are learning the best in class stuff, because things have changed a lot in the past few years, especially. In that Pillars course series, we have Discovery, which is already out and fabulous. So feel free to take a look at the Discovery course. We have our Value Selling Pillars course. That is coming out really, really soon. So feel free to get involved in our first official course coming out in September. And then we also have deal influence. So think about this, everything from influencing the prospect, influencing your internal champions and partners, as well as the craftsmanship that goes into being a really good pre-sales professional.
As I transitioned out of trying to figure out how to do this to feeling like I kind of know what I'm doing, but the sharpening the saw side of how do I continue to get better, there is less and less of that available. Not that, I mean, I feel like honestly, we need a lot of everything in this role, but definitely it's good to see a lot of stuff coming up for experience. Discovery is something I actually love, and I feel like I can always get better at doing discovery no matter what. Value-based selling, if you're not doing value-based selling and you don't know what it is, you should probably take the course because you should be doing it. You should absolutely be doing it. I'm actually interested in checking those out myself as well. So I might do so.
Love to have.
And I noticed on the site as well, the people who were involved in pulling this together, some really great people that you pulled in from different companies, people who are themselves seasoned professionals. It seems like you've got a really good set of people lending their expertise to these courses as well.
Absolutely. Some of the folks who have kind of given me sort of like their brain trust around these topics, it's been super important because even though I feel like I know these topics fairly well, I mean, granted, we can all get better, but I know these topics fairly well. I've been in various different types of organizations from small to large. So we know how these things work. But at the same time, it's really important to have a variety of people lending their minds, their ears, saying, hey, this is how I've seen it work here. This is how I've seen it work there, and testing it. Each one of these courses are going through a pilot program. Each one of these courses is going through SME review. We're doing it all the right way with bringing in instructional designers as well. This is a really well thought out course and something that I'm really proud to share with the community.
I've heard nothing but excitement from people who are excited to take it. And obviously, if we're standing upon, PreSales Academy, PreSales Foundation, and what's been built there and just making it better, like it's gonna be good stuff. It's gonna be good stuff. I'm not being paid to say this. Liz is not paying me to say this. But I think it's actually really exciting. And but that's actually not why I wanted you on the show. So I don't know if you recall, there was a post that you had made. I don't even know what the topic was, but you had mentioned something related to Dungeons and Dragons, D&D.
Yes.
In a comment of someone else's thread that I read, and I read yours, I'm like, oh, you do D&D. That's really interesting. And you even brought up, like, you even thought about doing some type of homebrew, pre-sales focused, like, tabletop game. And I was like, okay, this is someone who's like serious about tabletop role-playing games. And so when I came up with this idea for Demo Delta, I'm like, well, I got to see if Liz would be interested in talking about D&D on the show because, one, I was a late discoverer of D&D myself, and I've only played it a couple times. It's kind of hard to find groups when you're in your 40s compared to if you do it when you're younger. But I think the applications of D&D, I feel like, are going to be really good towards life and towards what we do. So how did you get into D&D? Why do you still do it now?
I love this question because it might surprise you to realize I'm actually a fairly late entry into the D&D hobby as well. I've really only been doing it for the past 4 years. And in that time, I've gotten really, really into it. So I've been around it. So I've been in the board game community for far longer than I've been in D&D. And there's a lot of overlap between board gamers and folks who play D&D. And so everybody was always surprised when they heard, oh, you haven't played D&D yet. You haven't played D&D yet. And I'd been wanting to play. And one time I was just, I'm tired of waiting for a group. I'm tired for waiting for the right time to do something. I'm going to find it myself. I'm proactive. I can figure this out. And I found myself on a newbie D&D Discord community. Got invited into a game that was teaching folks how to play D&D for the first time. And that was really lucky because that is the Discord community that I'm still in today, where I have a long-standing, almost 2-year campaign now.
Wow.
With the same characters. We just hit level 10 after 2 years, which is halfway through. It's absolutely fabulous. I mean, I still play it today, not only because the table that I play with is absolutely amazing. We're heavy into the storytelling and the role play section. My character just asked everybody what their moral code is, to give you an example.
Okay.
And it's just the fact that you can have so much fun. And I can do it in a way where it doesn't matter who I am. It doesn't matter what I do. It just matters that we enjoy playing fun fantasy games together.
No, I didn't know that. Normally when you see, because the amount you were talking about or the things you were saying, my assumption was, she has to have been doing this since, college days or somewhere around there in order to kind of this into it. So the last 4 years, I guess that's maybe good news for me, just trying to get into it, of going, okay, so you can kind of get sucked into it even a little being a late bloomer, a late D&D bloomer a little bit.
Yes.
I love the camaraderie as well. Last week when I was talking with Pam Dunn, she was talking all about making connections with people and the benefit that has on just your mental health and your mental well-being. And sounds like D&D maybe is doing a little bit of the same, since you say you love playing with the people that you're playing with. I'm assuming that's because of the people, not just because the story's great.
I mean, it's a little bit of both. The story is fabulous, but the people that I play with are truly exceptional. And they're from all different walks of life, even though I don't know exactly what those walks are. So, for instance, the people that I play with, I don't know their names. I don't know their real names. I don't necessarily know where they're located. I know where their time zones are, but that's about it. I know what characters that they play, and I know what their Discord names are. And the same with me. They know what my Discord name is. It's beautiful because you get the value of what somebody's personality is, how somebody brings creativity into playing together with you. And there's something so freeing about that. And when you're talking about being a part of an inclusive community like that, there's plenty of folks in our group where, maybe not everybody knows this, but I get chronic migraines. Like, that's something that I get often. And so if I have to not be a part of a game because, I've got a migraine that night, I was like, oh no, feel better, etc. And then it makes you feel good that they care enough about you being there, even though they don't know every single aspect about you. They bring you up. There's also a community where you just get to have fun and lose yourself in a game, especially with the type of world that we're kind of in today. It's nice to be able to fully lose yourself.
That just complete disconnection from everything in life. Have you ever thought, there's a chance I'm running into someone I D&D with somewhere in the real world somewhere? But you would never know, right? Unless you recognize the voice, maybe. Unless you recognize the voice.
There's always that possibility. There's kind of been that time like, I wonder. Pretty sure they're in different industries than I am, but it is always interesting. Like, for instance, our little group is a group of 6 of us, actually 7 of us now, who play all together, and but we're a part of a Discord group that is much larger. But I definitely think, I'm like, man, maybe some of those people on the server are people that I know and I don't know it.
I've been a part of, not for D&D, but for video game, I've been a part of Discord communities for quite a while as well. And I can attest the fact that there is something kind of unique about this community that's getting together solely based upon a shared interest of something like a game. And that's it.
Yeah. Absolutely. And that's such a big thing, especially when I have become a lot more public in the last few years with, being a part of PSC and the stuff that I'm doing, and the fact that I can not have that, especially as someone, I'm not always comfortable with the limelight. So it's really nice to have that space away from it.
I am recording this and I plan to put this on the internet. I don't know if I told this to you, so you gotta let me know if you're not comfortable with that, and we'll talk.
I think it's okay, Jack.
It's gonna be okay. Well, you do quite well in the limelight. I wouldn't have guessed that about you. What's interesting is that sentiment. I think there are a lot of solution consultants who are in that exact same predicament. They don't necessarily want to be on camera or in front of people. They just really like the idea of helping people figure stuff out. Total aside. I don't want to start talking about our work.
I think we could have a whole episode on that.
We definitely. Every time I record, even this show and the last show that I did, I feel like every episode I'm like, okay, I just got 5 more topics that I could explore completely independently of what we're talking about right now. Do you ever, though, kind of want to know who the people are, or do you not have that urge to kind of want to investigate and hope you figure out who somebody is?
I think I'm pretty happy just keeping things in their own little box. There have been maybe 1 or 2 opportunities where someone I've been playing with is kind of nearby in California, and they're like, hey, I'm going to be in your area. Do you want to meet up? Timing hasn't worked out, but I wouldn't say no to that. But it's not like I would have a desire to go and find who people are, just because, that's not necessary. There's the type of, I'll say, friendship that we have is specific to how we play the game. And we are very good about keeping work and other personal things fairly out of it.
It's definitely real connection, even without the knowing too, which is a lot of fun. So I do have another question, which is something that we've talked about before. So this isn't me springing something on you. You had been through a reduction in force, after you had already found D&D, and from what you mentioned, though you didn't get into details, you said D&D played in a pretty significant part of that time. Do you mind sharing a little bit, like, how was that going through that, and how did D&D play into it?
Yeah, and I think this is a perfect example of how D&D really helped me through that transition process. It could have been a really difficult time. It was a difficult time. Now that I'm out of it, I'm very grateful for that time. But while you're in it, it's obviously very, very hard.
It's never fun when you're in it. I mean,
Afterwards, you're like, I learned so much.
Wow, I would never have found X if I hadn't gone through that. Yeah, but
100%. So we kind of saw it coming. It was even to the point where myself and some other folks had predicted the potential time that something would come out.
Oh, wow.
It was like, if this happens, it's likely going to be at this particular time, because it was a multi-stage riff where like the sales and like go-to-market org wasn't a part of the initial one. But we figured, okay, after year end, something's probably going to happen. It's either going to happen on this date or this other date. The other date didn't happen. So it's like, it's likely going to be this date before it happened around this time frame. So it's probably going to happen around this time frame. And I was correct. The good thing is the time frame was actually an hour after I would get off my D&D game. So rather than kind of worrying and stressing and checking my email every 5 minutes to see what was happening, if I still had access to things, because it was towards the night in the West Coast, I got to play D&D and not think about it for 4 hours. Once it did happen, and I was one of the people a part of that riff, it was nice to be able to have an escape every week. So someplace where I could go, where I could forget about everything that was happening, have a little bit of fun, and make progress towards something. One of the things that stuck with me that my career coach had talked to me about during that time was, you always need to have something every week that you're looking forward to. And
ooh, I like that. Yeah.
And this was my thing, because it can get so hard And you can feel like there's so much out of your control. And if you're trying to get like, oh, I'm trying to get an interview, or I'm trying to get someone to get back to me, or I'm trying to do something, those are not in your control. And so if that doesn't happen, that can make you feel pretty bad. And so having the thing every week to look forward to is really helpful. And I actually got into DMing during that time too. So I created my own homebrew campaign, which was really fun. I never thought I was going to do that before. I'm like, oh, it's too hard. But I used that time to kind of be a little bit more creative. I created this basically fairy tale-esque D&D campaign, like very high fantasy, very high magic, very chaotic. And if you know me, you know that's right up my alley. But it was super fun because I got to be really creative with it. I also used it as a time to kind of learn how to properly engineer prompts for Gen AI, which was a really fun way to like figure out how to prompt certain things. So I wrote the campaign, but I would do things like, all right, this is what I want this particular character to say. How would you say it if this person was also like rhymed a bunch and in this particular aesthetic? And then had it generate a few responses from me, used what I wanted to, didn't use what I didn't want to. And it really helped me kind of understand AI during that time as well, which was really important. And I got to try my hand at DMing and being a dungeon master, game master, for those of you who don't know, which is basically you're leading the game.
I'm just assuming everyone knows, but that's a really good call out. Yes. Yeah, that's actually why I said Dungeons and Dragons at the beginning. I figured if I started just saying D&D, people may have been lost from the start.
But yeah, like being a dungeon master, a game master, you're really... you're kind of in charge of the story, but in some ways you're the least in charge of the story because other people are telling the story with you.
Yeah.
And
they can choose
really
to
fun.
completely ignore all the things you've prepared because they don't want to walk
100%.
down that road.
No, they do not. Or
no matter how many hints you give them, they are going to not see the bridge. Instead, they're going to try to swim 5 or 6 times. Who knows why?
And sometimes you might almost get a total party kill just because of a wild magic table that seems to go off on fireball two times in a row. So that was really fun.
Oh my goodness. I feel like that's a very real thing that might have happened, not hypothetical, I'm guessing.
Not hypothetical.
Not hypothetical. No, I love that. I love that you were able to use that time to both get into something that was a hobby and grow it more during that time, which I think is very important when you're going through something like a riff, but also improve your skills while you're at it. Like you're doing like both at the same time. I do want to back up though, because I don't want to miss this that you said before, that the thing about how it's really important during that time going through riff to have something every week to look forward to. I don't think that's just important when you're going through something like a riff. I very much believe that having hobbies, having things like this, having things that you can look forward to outside of work are a must have at any time, even when you're very happy at your job, because that's just your job and you need to look forward to something other than your job. And I like that. I like the way that's phrased though. Have something to look forward to every week. That means not just I get a vacation in 3 months. It's what is there this week that I have that's outside of my work that I can be excited about? Is it a weekly date night? Maybe is it going to the movies every week? Is it I don't know, but yeah, I feel like that's something that we still need now.
Absolutely. I know you've said this before. I think I even mentioned this to you. I feel like in some ways, outside of D&D, my hobby is hobbies. Like I love trying new things.
Serial hobbyist. Yes, absolutely.
So I love being able to look forward to learning something, go figure. I'm the director of learning and I love learning new things, but
I will not call it a cliche because it's not, it's just loving learning stuff is it's a good trait to have. It's a trait you can actually cultivate. I don't think it's something you have or you don't have. You can definitely cultivate that.
So, I love doing hobbies. I love having something different to look forward to, as well as my D&D game, because, I'm in this period of my work career where I'm working incredibly hard. These courses that we just came up with, it's a lot of hard work. I talk to a lot of people. I'm bringing all the right things in, and to make these be good, it's a lot of work. I mean, I could have just put a bunch of stuff together and put it out, but that's not what I'm going to do. So it's so important when you're working even extra hard to make sure that you're spending that time for yourself. You know what you need. Sometimes what you're looking forward to is some sort of self-care. Sometimes it's going out with people. Sometimes it is, doing something fun. Sometimes it's doing something relaxing. Only you can know what that is. But if you don't have that, and it's taken me a long time sometimes to learn this, I've known if I don't have that, if I'm not understanding what I need in that particular week or month or year of my life, it can be really draining, even if you're getting a lot of energy from other things.
So that's the end of part 1. Part 2 is out right now. You know the drill. Just click next, go to the next episode. But if you didn't like this one, I do ask you to please subscribe, tell all your friends, share the episodes out. Really do appreciate it. It helps me out. But you don't need to wait. Next episode with Liz, the second half of the interview is already out. So go ahead, listen to it right now, and we'll see you in that episode.